Jake Morrison sat alone at the small table marked with Earth's symbol. Around him, the massive council chamber buzzed with alien voices, speaking in dozens of different languages. The ceiling stretched so high above that he could barely see it, and the walls curved in a perfect circle that seemed to go on forever. This was the Galactic Council, the most important place in the known universe. And Jake felt very small. The other delegates filled their sections with pride. The Zephyrians looked like walking crystals, their bodies catching the light and throwing rainbow patterns across the floor. Their section took up almost a quarter of the chamber, with hundreds of representatives arranged in perfect rows. The Corvin Federation members were huge reptile-like creatures with thick scales and sharp teeth. They sat in the center of the room, their massive forms making the furniture creak under their weight. The Nexari floated in glowing suits of armor, energy beings who had no solid bodies but somehow managed to look down on everyone else. Anyway, Jake adjusted his simple black uniform and tried not to feel embarrassed. Earth had sent only him to this gathering, while other worlds brought entire armies of diplomats. His briefcase contained everything humanity could offer to the coming war, and he knew it would not impress anyone. High Chancellor Vex of the Zephyrian Empire rose from his crystal throne. His voice rang through the chamber like music played on glass bells. We gather today to prepare for the greatest threat our galaxy has ever faced. The Devourers move closer to our worlds every day, consuming everything in their path. Each of our great civilizations must contribute to this noble defense. The presentations began with the Zephyrians themselves. Holographic displays filled the air above the chamber, showing massive fleets of crystal ships that sparkled like diamonds in space. Each vessel was the size of a city, armed with energy weapons that could crack planets in half. Zephyrian fleet numbered in the thousands, with crews trained for centuries in the art of space warfare. War Master Thak of the Corvan Federation stood next, his massive frame towering over the speaking platform. His ships appeared in the holographic display like living creatures, their hulls made of modified organic material that could heal itself during battle. The Corvan bioships could grow new weapons during combat and adapt to any enemy they faced. Their fleet was smaller than the Zephyrians, but each ship was worth 10 ordinary vessels. The Nexari Collecto presented last among the major powers. Their representative, a being of pure energy contained in a mechanical suit, spoke without moving. What Jake assumed was its mouth. The Nexari ships defied easy description, looking more like geometric patterns than actual vessels. They could phase in and out of normal space, attack from multiple dimensions at once, and their weapons operated on principles that most species could not even understand. Other races followed with their own impressive displays. The Altarians showed sleek silver ships that moved faster than light itself. The Centauri Alliance brought massive space stations that could serve as mobile fortresses. The Rigel Syndicate offered automated drone fleets that could replace themselves faster than enemies could destroy them. Finally, Chancellor Vex's crystal eyes turned toward Jake. And now, let us hear from our newest potential ally. The humans of Earth have requested to join our noble cause. Kay, show us what your species can contribute to this great endeavor. Kay stood on shaking legs and activated his own holographic display. The images that appeared were painfully modest compared to what had come before. 12 destroyers, each about the size of a single Corvin weapon pod. 30 frigates that looked like toys next to the crystal monuments of the Zephyrian fleet. And finally, the USS Liberty, Earth's largest and most advanced warship, which would have fit comfortably inside the landing bay of an Nexari geometric vessel. The silence that followed lasted for several long seconds. Then, someone in the Altarian section made a sound that might have been a cough, or might have been suppressed laughter. It spread through the chamber like wildfire, becoming a wave of barely contained amusement that washed over Jake like a cold. Tied, Chancellor Vex raised one crystal hand to restore order, but Jake could see the condescending smile in his alien features. Your enthusiasm is appreciated, Human Morrison. However, I fear that vessels of this size would be quite vulnerable in the battles to come. Perhaps Earth's ships would be better suited to supply runs and medical support. War Master Deck's deep voice rumbled through the chamber like distant thunder. The human vessels appeared to be well built for their size. They would make excellent maintenance craft for our real warships. People could serve as mechanics and repair technicians. The Nexari representative's mechanical voice was flat and emotionless. Our analysis indicates that human technology is approximately 350 years behind current galactic standards. However, enthusiasm can sometimes compensate for technical limitations. Jake felt his face burn with embarrassment, but he kept his voice steady. Earth understands that our contribution may seem small, but we are prepared to do whatever is necessary to defend the galaxy. More sounds of amusement rippled through the chamber. The other delegates were not being deliberately cruel, Jake realized. They simply could not take Earth's offer seriously. Their minds, humanity was like a child offering to help adults move furniture. The gesture was sweet, but ultimately meaningless. Chancellor Vex's voice took on the tone adults used when speaking. Two very young children. Your offer is noted and valued, Human Morrison. When the supply convoys are organized, Earth's vessels will be most welcome. For now, the real planning must begin among those civilizations capable of actual combat. Jake gathered his materials and sat back down, effectively dismissed from the most important military planning session in galactic history. Around him, the great powers began discussing strategy, fleet movements, and weapon deployments. No one asked for Earth's opinion on anything more significant than fuel consumption rates. Hours passed as Jake watched the galaxy's finest military minds plan their defense against the Devourer threat. The aliens spoke of battle lines light years long, of weapons that could destroy solar systems, of fleets so vast they would darken the space between stars. Earth's tiny contribution was forgotten almost immediately as the session finally ended. Jake found himself alone in the observation area, looking out through the massive windows at the assembled fleets. Thousands of alien warships floated in perfect formations, each one representing the pinnacle of its civilization's military might. In the distance, almost lost among the giants, Earth's small flotilla looked like a collection of lifeboats that had somehow wandered into a gathering of battleships. Jake pulled out his communication device and composed a message to Earth. Cake Council. Session complete. Our offer to join the main battle has been politely declined. Recommend we proceed with alternative preparations as discussed. He paused, looking once more at the vast alien armadas, then added, they have no idea what's coming. Unknown to the mocking aliens, deep in Earth's solar system, construction facilities that had been hidden for decades continued their work. The real human fleet was taking shape in the shadows of Mars and Jupiter, incorporating technologies that would make the galaxy's greatest powers look like children playing with toys. But that was a secret for another day. 3 months after the council meeting, the first emergency signals began flooding communication networks across the galaxy. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of the galactic flagship Sovereign's Pride, watching as a report after report painted a picture of complete disaster. The frontier worlds were not just under attack, they were gone. The holographic display showed the Kepler system, once home to 12 billion Altarian colonists. Now it showed nothing but empty space and debris clouds. The Devourer fleet had not simply destroyed the planets. They had consumed them entirely, converting every atom of matter into more ships for their growing armada. Captain Ben Richards, the human liaison officer assigned to the Galactic fleet, watched the alien commanders struggle to understand what they were facing. High Chancellor. Vex's crystal form flickered with stress patterns of light as he reviewed the scout reports. War Master Thek's massive claws scraped against the metal deck as he paced back and forth. Even the normally calm Nexori representative showed signs of agitation, its energy field pulsing with unstable rhythms. The enemy fleet is larger than our worst estimates, Chancellor Vex announced to the assembled officers. Our crystal seers calculated that the Devourers might field perhaps 10,000 vessels. The reality is far worse. Long-range scans show formations that stretch across entire star systems. War Master Thek stopped his pacing and faced the holographic display. His reptilian eyes studied the enemy formations with growing alarm. These ships are not built like anything we understand. They appear to be growing even as they move, consuming space debris and converting it into hull plating and weapons. The Nexari representative floated closer to the display, its mechanical voice carrying what sounded like confusion. Our mathematical models cannot account for this rate of expansion. The Devourer fleet appears to be violating several fundamental laws of physics. Admiral Sullivan felt a cold weight in her stomach as she realized the truth. This galaxy's most advanced civilizations, with all their superior technology and ancient wisdom, were completely unprepared for this enemy. The weapons and tactics they had spent millennia perfecting were useless against an opponent that operated outside their understanding of reality. Meanwhile, President Dan Carter sat in the underground bunker that served as humanity's true command center. The room looked nothing like the simple offices that alien diplomats had visited during previous meetings. Banks of quantum computers lined the walls, their displays showing calculations that would have driven alien scientists to madness. General Amy Rodriguez stood beside him, reviewing reports from monitoring stations that had been tracking the Devourer threat for over 50 years. The enemy is moving faster than we predicted, General Rodriguez said, her voice calm despite the magnitude of the crisis. Our deep space sensors detected the first dimensional rifts in the Vega sector 2 hours ago. They will reach the main galactic defense line within days, not weeks. President Carter nodded grimly. What is the status of our preparations? The Sol defense grid is at full readiness, Rodriguez replied. Manufacturing stations throughout the solar system are producing vessels at maximum capacity. We now have over 3,000 ships hidden in the outer system, each one equipped with weapons specifically designed for this enemy. Dr. Sam Hughes materialized on the main view screen, transmitting from the Titan research station. Behind him, teams of scientists worked frantically at control panels that seemed to bend space around them. Mr. President, the quantum displacement artillery is ready for deployment. We have also completed the first batch of reality anchors. These devices should prevent the Devourers from using their matter conversion abilities within a designated area. Carter leaned forward in his chair. Doctor, I need to know if our weapons will actually work against these creatures. The entire galaxy is dependent on theories we have never tested in real combat. Dr. Hughes smiled for the first time in months. Sir, we have been testing our weapons against captured Devourer technology for 30 years. Colonel Ashley Grant's mission to the frontier has provided us with fresh samples and confirmed our understanding of the enemy. We are as ready as we can possibly be. Colonel Grant's special operations team had accomplished what no alien force thought possible, using stealth technology that made their ships invisible to all known detection methods. They had infiltrated a Devourer-occupied system and stolen samples of enemy technology. What they discovered changed everything. The Devourers were not from this universe at all. They came from a dimension where different physical laws allowed matter to exist in multiple states simultaneously. This explained their ability to convert regular matter so efficiently and their immunity to conventional weapons. More importantly, it meant that only weapons designed specifically for interdimensional warfare could truly harm them. Colonel Grant's report had reached Earth just as the first major battle began at the Altair system. Kana, the combined fleets of 3 galactic powers, over 800 vessels strong, engaged what they believed was the Devourer advance guard. The alien commanders expected a difficult but winnable fight. Instead, they discovered that the advance guard numbered in the thousands, with ships that grew stronger by consuming the wreckage of destroyed vessels. Captain Mike Davis, aboard the hidden human observation ship USS Retribution, watched the battle through sensors that could peer across dimensional barriers. The sight was worse than anyone had imagined. Zephyrian crystal ships, each one a masterpiece of engineering, were being dissolved and absorbed within minutes of contact with the enemy. Corvin bio-vessels that attempted ramming attacks found themselves converted into devourer ships before they could even reach their targets. The retreat from Altair cost the galaxy nearly half of its primary fleet. Ships that had survived 1,000 battles were reduced to raw materials for the enemy's growing armada. Entire civilizations watched their proudest military achievements vanish into the hungry maw of an incomprehensible foe. High Chancellor Vex, his crystal form now cracked and dim with stress, authorized an emergency transmission to Earth. The message was brief and desperate. The Galactic Council formally requested any assistance humanity could provide. The previous dismissal of Earth's capabilities was quietly forgotten in the face of absolute terror. Admiral Jack Stone received the transmission while standing in the command center of Luna Base. Around him, clinicians monitored the movement of humanity's true fleet. Thousands of vessels hidden throughout the solar system by technology that alien science insisted was impossible. Each ship incorporated advances that were decades ahead of anything the galaxy had seen. Stone studied the tactical displays showing the Devourer advance. The enemy was moving faster than expected, consuming everything in their path and growing stronger with each victory. Soon they would reach the heart of galactic civilization. And when they did, galaxy's remaining fleets would be swept aside like leaves in a hurricane. But the galaxy did not know about humanity's real preparations. Hidden shipyards on Mars and Europa worked around the clock, producing vessels that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Weapons that could erase targets from reality itself were loaded into launch tubes that bent the laws of physics. Most importantly, the quantum displacement drives that would allow the human fleet to appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning were finally ready for combat. Admiral Stone composed his reply to the Galactic Council's desperate plea for help. Earth acknowledges your request for assistance. Our fleet will deploy to the Vega system immediately. He paused, then added a line that would soon echo throughout galactic history. Prepare to see what humanity can really do. In the depths of space, far beyond the detection range of any alien sensors. The first elements of Earth's true armada began moving toward the battle zone. The ships activated stealth systems so advanced that they appeared as empty space to any known detection method. Each vessel carried weapons specifically designed to fight extra-dimensional entities, technology that required humanity to completely reimagine the fundamental forces of the universe. The galaxy was about to discover that the species they had, dismissed as primitive children, possessed capabilities that would make their greatest achievements look like stone tools. But first, they would have to survive long enough to witness humanity's true power. The Battle of Altair began at dawn on what the galactic calendar marked as Victory Day, a bitter irony that would be remembered for centuries. Captain Ben Richards stood on the bridge of the Zephyrian flagship Crystal Throne, watching as the combined fleets of 3 galactic powers prepared to face what their intelligence claimed was merely a Devourer probe force. The alien commanders had arranged their ships in a formation that had won wars for thousands of years. The Zephyrian crystal vessels formed the center line, their energy weapons capable of punching through moon-sized asteroids. The Corvin bioships spread out on the flanks, ready to use their superior speed for hit-and-run attacks. The Nexari. Geometric vessels floated above and below the main formation, prepared to phase in and out of normal space to confuse the enemy. High Chancellor Vex stood at the command platform, his crystal form radiating confidence despite the stress fractures that had appeared after the frontier defeats. Today, we show these invaders that the galaxy will not fall to their hunger. Our combined strength will send them fleeing back to whatever dark corner of space spawned them. War Master Deck checked his bioship's weapon systems one final time. The massive reptilian commander had fought in over 200 space battles, and his experience told him this would be different from anything he had faced before. Still, he trusted in the proven tactics and superior firepower of the Galactic Alliance. When the Devourer fleet appeared on the sensors, the first reaction from the alien crews was stunned silence. The enemy formation stretched across space like a living thing, with ships that seemed to pulse and breathe as they moved. What the intelligence reports had called a probe force numbered not in the hundreds, but in the thousands. Each Devourer vessel appeared to be growing, even as they watched, consuming space debris and converting it into additional hull plating. All ships began the attack, Chancellor Vex commanded, his voice steady despite the growing realization that their estimates had been catastrophically wrong. The battle began with the traditional opening moves that had served galactic civilization for millennia. Spherian energy beams lanced out across space, striking the lead Devourer ships with enough power to vaporize planets. The alien crews watched in satisfaction as the beams found their targets, expecting to see the enemy vessels reduced to glowing debris. Instead, the Devourer ships absorbed the energy attacks and grew larger. The wounds caused by the crystal weapons healed within seconds, and new weapon pods sprouted from the impact sites like metallic flowers. The enemy was not just surviving the assault. They were feeding on it. War-Master Deck ordered his bioships to begin ramming attacks, a tactic that had broken enemy lines since the Corvin Federation first reached the stars. The massive organic vessels accelerated toward the Devourer formation, their living hulls capable of surviving impacts that would destroy conventional ships. The first bioship to reach the enemy line was the Bloodclaw, commanded by Captain Nex' own son. The vessel struck a medium-sized Devourer ship at full speed, expecting to tear through the enemy hull and emerge from the other side. Instead, the alien crew watched in horror as their ship was engulfed by the enemy vessel like a stone, sinking into thick mud. Within minutes, the Bloodclaw had been completely absorbed, its crew and technology converted into more Devourer mass. The Nixari tried their dimensional phasing tactics next, believing that attacking from multiple realities would confuse an enemy that seemed bound by normal physical laws. The geometric vessels shifted into alternate dimensions and attempted to strike the Devourer fleet from angles that should not have existed. The enemy response shattered everything the Nexari thought they knew about physics. The Devourer ships followed them into the alternate dimensions, moving through realities as easily as swimming through water. The geometric vessels found themselves trapped in dimensional spaces that were rapidly being consumed and converted. One by one, the Nexari ships vanished into dimensional rifts that closed behind them with sounds like reality tearing. Captain Riches felt his stomach drop as he realized the truth. This was not a battle. This was a feeding frenzy, and the Galactic Alliance were the prey. The Devourer ships moved through the formation like predators among helpless fish, absorbing everything they touched and growing stronger with each kill. All ships retreat, Chancellor Vex commanded, his crystal voice cracking with desperation. Fall back to the secondary defense line. But there was nowhere to run. The Devourer fleet had surrounded the Galactic formation while they were focused on the frontal assault. Enemy ships appeared from directions that sensors insisted were empty space, cutting off escape routes and hurting the surviving Allied vessels into an ever-shrinking pocket of normal space. The USS Liberty, Earth's flagship, watched the battle from what the alien commanders thought was a safe distance. Captain Ryan Torres and his crew observed through sensors that were far more advanced than their modest appearance suggested. The human ship remained invisible to all detection methods, protected by stealth technology that the galactic powers could not imagine. The Galactic fleet is being slaughtered, reported Lieutenant Sarah Blake from her sensor station. Enemy casualties appear to be 0. Our casualties are climbing past 60% and rising fast. Captain Torres nodded grimly. Continue monitoring. Do not intervene until Admiral Stone gives the signal. This is exactly what our planners predicted would happen. On Luna Base, Admiral Jack Stone watched the tactical display with the cold attention of a man who had prepared for this moment for decades. The Galactic Alliance was learning what humanity had discovered 50 years ago. Conventional weapons, no matter how advanced, were useless against an enemy that existed partially outside normal reality. Sir, we're receiving desperate communications from the Galactic Fleet, reported Communications Officer Lisa Carter. They're asking for immediate assistance from any available human vessels. Admiral Stone studied the display for another long moment. The alien fleets that had dismissed Earth's modest contribution were now begging for help from the species they had treated like children. The irony was not lost on him, but there was no satisfaction in watching brave beings die for their arrogance. Begin. Phase 1 deployment, Admiral Stone commanded. All stealth vessels to the Altair system. Reality anchor ships move to forward positions. Quantum displacement artillery to standby. Throughout the solar system, humanity's true fleet began moving with coordinated precision that would have seemed impossible to alien observers. Ships that had been hidden in the shadows of Jupiter's moons emerged from dimensional fold space. Vessels that appeared to be simple asteroids shed their camouflage and revealed whole configurations that hurt to look at directly. Most importantly, the reality anchor ships began moving toward the battle zone, carrying weapons that could lock space-time into rigid patterns and prevent the devourers from accessing their home. DIMENSION, Dr. Helen Price, transmitted from the Mars Research Complex, her voice calm despite the magnitude of what was beginning. Admiral, all quantum displacement systems are online. Temporal mines are loaded and ready. The reality anchors are charging their primary systems. We'll go for interdimensional warfare. Back in the Altair system, the massacre continued. The Crystal Throne, flagship of the Zephyrian Empire, found itself surrounded by 3 devourer vessels that was systematically consuming its hull plating. Chancellor Vex stood at his command post, watching his beautiful ship being devoured by creatures that should not have been able to exist. This is High Chancellor Vex to any vessels in communication range. He transmitted on all frequencies. The Galactic Defense Fleet is defeated. We formally request immediate assistance from Earth's forces. Repeat, this is an emergency request for human intervention. The transmission reached Admiral Stone just as his forward scouts reported successful positioning around the battle zone. For the first time since the crisis began, he allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy was about to discover what humanity had been building in secret for half a century. Send reply to Chancellor Vex, Admiral Stone ordered. Message reads, Earth forces are moving to assist. Bear to witness capabilities beyond your current understanding. Humanity has been ready for this war far longer than you know. In space around the dying galactic fleet, reality began to shimmer as human ships prepared to drop their stealth fields. The Devourers were about to meet an enemy that had spent decades preparing specifically for their unique abilities. The real war was finally about to begin. The second wave of Devourer ships arrived at the Vega system like a nightmare made real. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the battered Sovereign's Pride, watching as the enemy fleet emerged from dimensional rifts that tore holes in space itself. The surviving galactic vessels had formed what their commanders hoped would be their final defensive line. But everyone knew it was really just a place to die with dignity. War Master Thek limped onto the bridge, his massive reptilian form bearing fresh scars from the Altair disaster. Half of his bioships had been consumed in that battle, converted into enemy vessels that now fought against their former allies. The sight of Corvin technology being used by the Devourers was almost more than he could bear. Status report, Admiral, Sullivan requested, though she already knew the answer would be grim. We have 412 ships remaining from the original fleet of over 2,000, reported Captain Lisa Hayes from a tactical station. Most vessels are operating at reduced capacity due to battle damage. Enemy numbers appear to have grown to approximately 15,000 vessels. High Chancellor Vex materialized on the communication screen, his crystal form now showing deep cracks that ran like scars across his surface. Admiral Sullivan, our deep space sensors show another wave of enemy reinforcements moving toward our position. We estimate arrival in 6 hours. The Nexari representative floated nearby, its energy field flickering with what looked like resignation. Mathematical analysis indicates a 0% probability of survival beyond the next engagement. We recommend that all vessels prepare final transmissions to their home worlds. Admiral Sullivan felt the weight of galactic civilization pressing down on her shoulders. These were the remnants of the greatest military forces the galaxy had ever assembled, and they were about to be swept away like dust before a hurricane. She was preparing to give the order for a final, futile charge when something impossible happened. Space began to tear. The first sign was a shimmer in the void between the galactic fleet and the approaching Devourers. The shimmer grew into a crack. Then the crack widened into a rift that seemed to slice through reality itself. From that rift emerged a ship that hurt to look at directly, its whole configurations following geometric patterns that made trained military minds feel dizzy. "What is that?" War Master Thek demanded, his claws scraping against the deck as he tried to focus on the strange vessel. More rifts opened throughout the battle zone. Ships emerged from each one, vessels that appeared to be made of crystallized starlight and folded space. They moved with impossible grace, their forms shifting between dimensions as they took position around the Devourer fleet. Each human ship seemed to exist in multiple realities at once, creating visual effects that alien sensors could not properly process. Captain Ike Davis stood on the bridge of the USS Retribution, the first human vessel to drop its stealth field in over 50 years of secret operations. Round him, his crew worked at control stations that used mathematics no alien species had discovered. The ship's quantum displacement cannon was charging, preparing to fire a weapon that would remove its target from existence itself. All human vessels, this is Admiral Stone aboard the USS Dominion, came to transmission on frequencies that penetrated dimensional barriers. Began Operation Galaxy's Dawn. Fire at will. The first shot came from the USS Retribution, a quantum displacement cannon discharged with a sound like reality breaking, and the massive Devourer ship in its crosshairs simply ceased to exist. There was no explosion, no debris field, no energy signature. The enemy vessel was edited out of space-time as if it had never been there at all. Across the battlefield, similar weapons fired from hundreds of human ships. Each shot eliminated a Devourer vessel completely, leaving gaps in the enemy formation that confused alien observers. The Devourers, who had proven immune to every conventional weapon in the galactic arsenal, were being systematically erased by technology that operated outside known physics. Commander Sarah Jones led the assault. Wing of reality anchor ships. These vessels projected fields that locked space-time into rigid patterns, preventing the Devourers from accessing their home dimension's exotic physics. For the first time since the war began, Alien commanders saw Devourer ships taking damage from ordinary weapons. The enemy's adaptive hulls failed when cut off from their extra-dimensional power source. "Impossible," whispered High Chancellor Vex as he watched human ships phase in and out of normal space, attacking from directions that his sensors insisted were empty. "Their technology level, it's beyond anything we imagined." War Master Thek watched in stunned amazement as human vessels demonstrated tactical capabilities that violated everything he thought he knew about space combat. The ships coordinated their movements with precision that suggested some form of shared consciousness, executing maneuvers that required real-time communication across impossible distances. The Nexari representative's energy field pulsed with what could only be described as shock. "The humans are using weapons that manipulate fundamental forces we have not discovered. Their ships appear to be operating in 7 dimensions simultaneously." Captain Torres, aboard the USS Liberty, coordinated the interdimensional assault with casual efficiency that would have terrified alien observers if they could have understood it. His crew had trained for decades in combat scenarios that took place across multiple realities, preparing for a war that the galaxy's greatest powers could not even imagine. "Reality anchors are in position," reported Lieutenant Blake from her station. "Devourer vessels in sectors 7 through 12 are locked into normal spacetime. Conventional weapons are now effective against those targets." The battle turned into a systematic dismantling of the Devourer fleet. Human ships attacked from angles that should not have existed, their weapons erasing enemy vessels from reality or trapping them in temporal loops. Some Devourer ships found themselves aging centuries in seconds, their hulls crumbling into dust as time accelerated around them. Others were compressed into points of infinite density, creating microscopic black holes that consumed everything nearby. Admiral Stone's flagship, the USS Dominion, materialized directly in front of the largest Devourer vessel. The enemy ship, larger than most space stations, attempted to consume the human vessel as it had done to thousands of alien ships. Instead, the Dominion's reality anchor field activated, locking both ships into normal space-time where conventional physics applied. The human ship's hull began to glow with patterns that seemed to write themselves across its surface. Energy. Weapons that looked like controlled lightning struck the Devourer vessel, but instead of being absorbed, the attacks tore through the enemy hull like paper. For the first time in the war, a Devourer ship was taking real damage. "How are they doing this?" Admiral Sullivan asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Captain Richards, who had been serving as human liaison, finally spoke the truth that would change galactic politics forever. "Admiral, Earth has been preparing for this war for over 50 years. We detected the Devourer threat long before your first frontier scouts ever encountered them. Every ship you see out there was built specifically to fight extra-dimensional entities." The revelation hit the alien commanders like a physical blow. The species they had dismissed as primitive children possessed technology so advanced that their greatest achievements looked like stone tools in comparison. Earth had not just joined the war, they had been ready for it longer than galactic civilization had known it was coming. The Devourer fleet, which had seemed unstoppable just hours before, found itself being methodically destroyed by an enemy they could not understand. Human ships appeared and disappeared at will, struck from impossible angles, and used weapons that operated on principles the Devourers had never encountered in any universe. As the last enemy vessel was erased from existence, Admiral Stone opened a communication channel to the surviving galactic fleet. His voice was calm and professional, showing no trace of the superiority that would have been justified after such a display. "This is Admiral Stone of the Terran Defense Force. The immediate threat has been neutralized. We request permission to dock with your command ship for strategic planning. The war is far from over, and there are things about the enemy that you need to understand." High Chancellor Vex found his voice after several long moments of stunned silence. "Permission granted, Admiral. And ... Thank you. We owe humanity a debt that can never be repaid." Admiral Stone's response will be remembered in galactic history textbooks for centuries to come. "Chancellor, the galaxy doesn't owe us anything. We're all in this together. But from now on, Earth will be taking the lead in this war. We hope. You understand? The age of human underestimation was over. The species that had been mocked for their primitive technology had just saved galactic civilization with the capabilities that redefined what was possible. Net, this was only the beginning." The meeting aboard the USS Dominion changed everything the alien leaders thought they knew about the universe. Admiral Jack Stone led High Chancellor Vex, War Master Deck, and the Nexari representative through corridors that seemed to bend space around them. The ship's interior defied every principle of physics the aliens understood, with rooms that were larger inside than the external hull could possibly contain. Dr. Carl Green, Earth's chief scientist, waited in the main briefing room, surrounded by holographic displays that showed information the galactic powers had never imagined. His calm demeanor was unsettling to visitors who expected to see some sign of technological strain or effort. Instead, the human scientist appeared completely comfortable with technology that made their greatest achievements look primitive. "Please, be seated," Admiral Stone said, gesturing to chairs that adjusted themselves to accommodate each alien physiology. "Dr. Green will explain what we have learned about the Devourer threat and how Earth has been preparing for this war." Chancellor. Vex's crystal form flickered with nervous energy. "Admiral Stone, before we begin, I must ask, how long has Earth possessed technology of this level? Our analysis suggests your weapons operate on principles we have not discovered." Dr. Green smiled gently, the expression of a teacher about to reveal a difficult truth to students. "Chancellor, Earth detected the Devourer threat 53 years ago using deep space monitoring stations that your science insists cannot exist. We have been preparing for this specific enemy ever since." The revelation hit the alien representatives like a physical blow. War Master Vex's massive claws scraped against the deck as he struggled to process what he was hearing. "You were saying that humanity knew about this threat for over half a century. Why did you not warn the galactic community?" "We tried," Admiral Stone replied calmly. 30 years ago, Earth sent diplomatic missions to every major galactic power. We offered to share our technology and warn about the coming invasion. Do you know what happened? We were politely told that human science was too primitive to be taken seriously. The Nexari representative's energy field pulsed with what might have been embarrassment. Our records show no such contact from Earth during that period. Dr. Green activated a holographic display that showed detailed documentation of every diplomatic attempt Earth had made. Meeting records, scientific papers, and technology demonstrations that had been dismissed by alien governments as impossible or irrelevant. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. The galaxy was not ready to hear that a supposedly primitive species had discovered threats and technologies beyond their understanding. Dr. Green continued. "So we made the decision to prepare in secret. We built our defenses, developed our weapons, and waited for the day when the galaxy would need our help." Chancellor Vex studied the historical records with growing horror. Every warning Earth had tried to give every offer of assistance that had been rejected. Every piece of evidence that could have prevented the current crisis. The galactic powers had ignored humanity's warnings because they could not accept that their technological inferiors might know something they did not. The final confrontation began 3 days later in the Proxima Centauri system, where the Devourers had built their primary staging area. The enemy had converted the entire star system into a massive processing facility, structures that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Admiral Stone's fleet approached the system, using technologies that allowed them to travel through folded space-time. Captain Laura Mitchell commanded the Interdimensional Assault Force, leading 300 specially modified vessels through dimensional barriers that would have destroyed conventional ships. Her crews had trained for years in environments where normal physics did not apply, preparing for battles that took place across multiple realities. Reality anchor systems are online, reported Lieutenant Commander Dave Wilson from his station aboard the USS Phoenix. Dimensional stabilizers are locked onto the primary target. We have a clear path to the core facility. The assault began, with human ships phasing into the Devourer home dimension, a realm where matter and energy followed completely different rules. Captain Mitchell's vessel, the USS Horizon, led the charge through environments where distance was a fluid concept and time moved in multiple directions simultaneously. The Devourer core facility was larger than most planets, a structure that consumed energy from dying stars to power its dimensional bridging equipment. The facility had been operating for thousands of years, allowing the Devourers to harvest matter from countless universes to fuel their existence. Destroying it would not harm the creatures themselves, but it would trap them permanently in their home dimension. Admiral Stone's command ship, the USS Dominion, entered the core dimension protected by reality anchors and quantum shielding that allowed it to exist in an environment hostile to normal matter. The ship's ultimate weapon was not a gun or a missile, but a device that could seal dimensional rifts permanently. Target acquired, reported Captain Torres from the weapon station. The dimensional seal device is ready for deployment. One shot will close the rift between dimensions forever. Admiral Stone looked at the tactical display, showing the massive Devourer facility. Thousands of the creatures worked within the structure, beings that were not evil, but simply following their nature as cosmic recyclers. The dimensional seal would not destroy them, but it would prevent them from ever threatening this universe again. Fire, Admiral Stone commanded. The weapon that ended the war was not an explosion, but a collapse. The dimensional rift that had allowed the Devourers to access this universe folded in on itself and disappeared, taking the processing facility with it. In normal space, the human fleet watched as every Devourer ship suddenly lost its connection to its home dimension and began breaking apart. The war was over. The galaxy had been saved by the species it had mocked as primitive. When the human fleet returned to normal space, they found a galaxy forever changed. The alien representatives who had dismissed Earth's modest contribution now faced the reality that humanity possessed capabilities far beyond their comprehension. The Galactic Council did not just welcome Earth as an equal member. They acknowledged human, technological, and military supremacy. Jake Morrison, now Earth's senior ambassador, addressed the reformed Galactic Council from the podium where he had once been humiliated. The chamber that had laughed at humanity's modest offer now listened in respectful silence as he explained the new galactic order. Earth's apparent technological inferiority was a deliberate choice, Morrison said, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. We wanted to observe and understand galactic civilization before revealing our true capabilities. We learned much about your cultures, your politics, and your assumptions. Chancellor Vex, his crystal form now bearing permanent scars from the war, spoke for all the alien powers. Master Morrison, humanity has saved our civilization. We offer our deepest apologies for our previous treatment of your people. What can we do to earn Earth's forgiveness? Morrison's response was both generous and firm. The galaxy's survival was never about forgiveness, Chancellor. It was about doing what was right. Earth will share our defensive technologies with all peaceful species. But let me be clear about one thing. The age of underestimating humanity is over forever. Construction began on humanity's first galactic command station, positioned at the center of what had once been neutral space. The station would serve as headquarters for the Terran Defense Coalition, an organization that placed Earth at the center of galactic security. As alien dignitaries arrived for the dedication ceremony, they passed human ships that casually patrolled dimensions their science insisted should not exist. Admiral Stone stood on the observation deck of the news station, watching as representatives from hundreds of worlds came to pay their respects to the species that had saved them all. The galaxy had learned a lesson that would echo through history. Never assume that apparent weakness means actual weakness. Never dismiss a species simply because they choose to appear humble. Earth had not conquered the galaxy through force or threats. They had earned their position as the dominant power by being ready when no one else was. By seeing threats that others missed, and by developing solutions that others thought impossible. The small blue planet on the galactic rim had become the center of a new age. The humans had been mocked, dismissed, and underestimated. But when the true test came, when the galaxy faced extinction, it was Earth's hidden armada that saved them all. The age of human supremacy had begun, built not on arrogance, but on the simple truth that sometimes the quiet ones are the most dangerous of all.